It's News Radio WRVA. Thanks so much for joining us. One of our favorite parts of the week is when we get to catch up and go inside Capitol Square with a member of the House of Delegates, also a former member of the House of Representatives in D.C., Delegate Tom Garrett joins us on News Radio WRVA. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rich. How are you today?
You sound like you want to listen to what Louise Lucas has to say.
I'm sorry. I just thought I accidentally flipped through NPR earlier, and I just thought,
be careful that
let's do the cold open that way.
Yeah, get a cup of coffee, wake up. I thought maybe you were just having your listening voice on so you can hear and talk to Louise Lucas while she has her listening tour throughout the Commonwealth.
I'm going
to
tell you what. She is conducting a master class. I mean this sincerely. Sometimes I kid on how to move the base of her party. And frankly, if Republicans in the General Assembly don't stand up and start proposing alternative budget ideas, even though we're in minorities,
right?
She might conduct a master class on how to move the base of our party too. This is leadership. It dies in a vacuum, and it won't. This is really, I think, about Louise's ego, but I think the Commonwealth of Virginia owes her a debt of gratitude, because historically the parties will have these intra-party arguments with the doors closed, right? We don't fight in front of the kids is the patriarchal sort of claptrap that you get. But they're having this fight very publicly, and I frankly think that at some level that's a good thing. Because we now have an opportunity as fiscal conservatives who want to be good stewards of tax dollars to propose alternative ways to spend less on different things and let the voters then compare and contrast and perhaps make different decisions going forward.
It's an interesting point of view. I hadn't thought about that, because what I'm watching is it seems like she single-handedly just wants to dismantle everything we've seen with data centers here, because it's, stick your finger in the wind and everybody's saying, I hate data centers. I don't want them near my house. Great. Let's go damage that industry and I can get some points off of this. But here's the bottom line. I've looked into this. I read, and I'm trying to figure out, they're looking for another $1.5 billion. They want to spend it on Obamacare subsidies that were supposed to be temporary. Of course, they always throw it, we're going to spend it on K through 12. But I also learned that you've got a $200 million slush fund that you'll use for things that got cut in the big, beautiful bill. And then when it's all said and done of this $1.5 billion boondoggle, they'll have over $500 million that you can use to reset the budget. She wants it from the data centers, and now all of a sudden the governor found this. I don't know where she found it. It seems like the county of Fantasyland, because they say, we're $837 million ahead of our budget forecast for the next couple of years, and we're getting that because people aren't taking their full refunds, and we will find income tax paid on stock market gains, hoping the economy keeps going. That's not real money out there on neither of these people's plates.
No, it's not, and they're cooking the books, and ultimately will be held to account for it when we lose the AAA bond rating that literally for generations we took for granted in the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is how you balance your budget when you can't balance your budget in a balanced budget state. What I mean is they don't have enough money to spend, despite Youngkin's $2.7 billion surplus on all of their pet projects. And so they're just going to make it look as if they do. And then when the bill comes to who's on the hook, well, it's not the members of the General Assembly. Right. So that's what we got going on here. And meanwhile, the way that we've gotten to this budget agreement would appear to be just give everybody everything they want so everybody will vote yes.
And that's
except Republicans, some of whom are going to vote yes anyway for reasons that I can't wrap my brain around.
Yeah, any Republican that votes yes, I want to know, because I'm going to ask them when I see them. I'm going to go down there on Thursday.
I can tell you who to have on your show. Get with me off air. I'll give you names of people to start calling who are indicating that they intend to vote for this because the citizens of the Commonwealth deserve a budget. And I'm like, they don't deserve this one.
What, you're going to give me a bad deal?
We are providing aid and comfort to the enemy. It is mind numbing.
I mean, 100% of this. And then on top of all of that, and again, full disclosure, for 1 year, I worked in the cannabis industry. I worked for a company that was partners with Major League Baseball and introduced CBD.
Excuse me for interrupting, Rich.
Yes, sir.
Rich, that explains a lot. Go ahead.
I worked for 1 year for a CBD company in partnership with Major League Baseball. I ran their sports marketing. It was a $30 million sponsorship. They hired me to oversee it. So again, full disclosure when we talk about the cannabis business, but this is you've got to explain this to me. Coming up in about a half hour, the governor is going to announce through the budget process, we will now have retail marijuana shops throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. They couldn't pass it through the General Assembly. They didn't want to work with her veto. So now they're going to do it through the budget. To me, does this seem shady, or am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything. It's a shell game, right? And we deserve better. And ultimately, all we're doing is delaying accountability, and we're passing it down to the working class that Louise Lucas and others say they care about, right? But nobody's going to explain to those same working class individuals why their power bill, literally, folks, this is not hyperbolic, jumped 7% July and for perpetuity, so that we could pour money into a false created equities market where people like Tom Steyer and Bill Gates will get rich, all while telling us they're doing it for us. They're capitalizing, for example, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative by raising your power bill and then allowing billionaires to speculate on those marketplaces. You can't make this stuff up. And meanwhile, the people who are demanding the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative are the ones that they've scared into capitulation by saying, like Bernie Sanders did in 2020, if we don't solve global warming by 2026, the planet will cease to exist. As I said, I think last week, it's, to paraphrase REM, the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Right? So this is crazy.
No, so go back. So we're going to introduce, and she's going to announce this in about 20 minutes, and I'm going to tell everybody what happened when California did this years ago and where you are today in the state and what a mess it is. We're going to introduce retail marijuana shops. They'll be legal in Virginia, but if you do it through the budget process, who's held accountable when the things go the wrong way, if they go the wrong way?
Well, Democrats never hold anyone accountable for anything unless it's the right for stuff we didn't do. So they'll just say, well, we'll try it again and we'll get it right this time. I mean, these people, the amazing ability to shirk responsibility is mind-numbing. And the whole party is built on defiance of, I believe, the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet, right? They guilt us using the book of Matthew and compel charity, but charity is not compelled, it's voluntary. Corinthians says that your giving should be willing, joyful, and from a voluntary heart. They're going to make everything right by stealing from you and giving to someone else because don't you know they know better?
Well, and that's the thing with this whole marijuana legalization through these retail. Fine. You know what? You want to do it, then somebody put your name on it, vote on it, up or down. Let me hold the accountability for the members of the General Assembly instead of hiding into the budget process. Because if Tom Garrett votes for this, I don't get to hold you accountable and go, hey, I wasn't really voting for the marijuana shops. I was just voting simply to put a budget, which we had to do. This shields everybody in the General Assembly from any accountability, and that's garbage.
And so if Republicans in the House of Delegates are down 64 to 36 and a single Republican votes for that budget that does that, what then should Republican voters do?
Goodbye.
I mean, you said it, not me.
I said it right now. If you vote for this boondoggle, then I'm going to ask. I will
let them ride it in.
I will be down at the General Assembly, and I will ask you to your face why you voted for this, and I will put you on the record.
That's how I feel. That's kind of how I feel. I'm not naming names, but I will tell you that I've heard, well, we owe the citizens of the Commonwealth a budget. That's an almost verbatim quote.
We owe the citizens.
And I said, not this budget, not this budget. And they're like, well, we have to pass a budget. I said, okay, well, there's 64 of them and 36 of us. So I think that some of the Republicans who think they have to vote for this have a really inflated sense of self-worth.
Because they don't matter.
All they're doing is running cover for a bunch of idiots who don't deserve the reins of power.
This makes me toss and turn at night. I don't know how you do it.
I'm not naming names because the people who are telling us that they have to vote for this budget, they have time to change their minds.
Oh, and I'm going down to Capitol Square. I will be sitting there. You know where I sit off to the left-hand side? I might go sit by the Democrats this time just to watch this go on.
Just whatever you do, don't look over the balcony to see what they're looking at on their cell phones.
No, I got in trouble for leaning over the balcony. You're not allowed to lean over the balcony or lean on the balcony when you sit up there. But I've got my press pass. I'm going to go, and I will be asking questions on Thursday of this horrible budget idea of making up. I'm either going to take it for the data centers, which means we're going to backtrack on our
Well,
promises.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I'm sorry. I'm on fire this morning.
Oh,
Louise Lucas was for it before she was against it. If you go back in time,
1 minute
during which she's been the chief budget negotiator for the Virginia Senate, there have been some form or another of tax breaks for Jeff Bezos and Amazon Web Services and data centers for the last 6 or 7 years, and she's voted for all of them. If you want to find out when Louise Lucas used AI or a consultant or a public opinion firm to figure out that people didn't like this crap, her first public comment on her X account, for which she is notorious, was March 2nd, 2026. Meanwhile, Tom Garrett's on the floor of the House of Delegates as a freshman member 3 years ago going, why on earth are we taking every single dime, not tax dollar, every dime earned by 1,000 average families in the course of a year in Buckingham County and giving it to Amazon Web Services and Jeff Bezos? The speeches are out there from me and from Lucas. She started March of this year. I started 3 years ago. She's always supported this. Now she doesn't. We need to ask ourselves why, and why would quote unquote Republicans, quote unquote fiscal conservatives run cover for the clown show that is the Democrats in the House, Senate, and the governor's mansion?
I mean, we can either sit back, eat popcorn, and watch them go at each other, or we can be leaders in the minority if you're a Republican. So I'll ask the leadership in the General Assembly, in the House and the Senate, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and eat popcorn and watch them run into each other in a demolition derby, or are you going to lead and at least go on the record and show the people of Virginia what would happen if you had different leadership other than this mess? And again, we're heading towards a government shutdown. I'm going to say it. If they don't get this done, we don't have money to pay the bills. Isn't that a government shutdown? You haven't heard anybody in the media say that the way they hold it over the House of Representatives Mike Johnson's head when you have a budget crisis like this.
Well, except you, Rich, right? I mean, there are guys in talk radio and in the blogosphere, et cetera, who are telling the truth. Tragically, I don't mean this. I just grew up. Look, when I was a college student, I got the News Leader delivered to my dorm room. That's how big a dork I was. Tragically, our print media is dead. Lee Enterprises is a subsidiary of the Spanberger administration. But there are some people telling the truth, and there are alternative areas where people can go to learn the truth. This is why people should tune into Richmond's Morning News with Rich Herrera. That afternoon guy, I don't know, he's kind of sketchy. No, this is it, right? And I don't like social media, but we're crushing social media right now, because if Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense in 2026, it would show up first on Substack or Reddit or Facebook before it did anywhere else. So, yeah, I mean, this country is so amazing and so incredible and still yet so flawed. That's why we're tasked with forming a more perfect union, right? Implying a perpetual responsibility to improve. Tragically, we're devolving towards idiocracy, and some of us are trying to hit the brakes. And meanwhile, we got people in our party going, well, you know, if we go slowly enough, it's the old frog in the pot, right? I got nothing to lose. I'm not running for higher office. I'm going to tell the truth boldly, and we'll just see where the chips fall, because my treasure's not on earth anyway. There's nothing they can do to me.
Can I remind everybody, please do not CA my VA. Tom, I'll catch up with you next week.
Rich Herrera, I am so grateful to know you, and I'm so glad that you're in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. Tom Garrett, member of the House of Delegates. That should get people fired up. I want to hear from you this morning on Richmond's Morning News. James River Air text line 833-804-1140. All right, let's talk a little bit about Michael Greer, GreerFinancialGroup.com. Maybe we should hire Michael Greer to go figure out what's going on in Capitol Square or D.C., okay? You can't spend money like they do in Washington, D.C., or now how we spend money at Capitol Square. You just can't. You have to be able to have some kind of financial sanity. That's where Michael Greer comes in. He's going to remind you, listen, your pet projects that you want, like going to the Bahamas or going on a year-long cruise, are nice, but you also have financial responsibilities like healthcare, gasoline, taxes, rent, everything else you have to have for the rest of your life. You need to have uncomfortable conversations